is the economy still the most important thing for you in terms of where you're going to vote? Is that the number one? I know historically, as they say, that is the number one. People look at the economy. I'm not sure about our listeners. I don't know if our viewers, and I don't know if that's where their hearts really are at. And what this means for a potential Harris run, as we've seen a bit of a cooling. The polls are still trending in her favor in that sense, just purely based on everything on sort of the newness of everything. But when moments like this happen, and you have the S&P 500 down 3.5% almost, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 2.7, NASDAQ down 4. This is alarming for a lot of people, but maybe we need to break down a bit of why it's alarming and what led to this.
Well, I think it's an important pivotal moment in U.S. economic history, and it will test Kamala Harris's ability to be agile and nimble in the face of bad economic news. So I think it's clear to virtually everyone that the stock market has fallen sharply, not only in the United States, but in Japan and much of the rest of the world. Now, in part, this follows, of course, a bad jobs report last week. Unemployment shot up to 4.3%. Only 114 new jobs were created. But the picture with respect to jobs is actually much worse. Why? Because most of the new jobs that we've created in the United States since the Biden administration took office have gone to illegal and legal immigrants as opposed to native-born Americans. Hence, many native-born Americans don't feel very good about the economy. You couple that with high interest rates. So, for instance, the average home price, if you factor in mortgage rates and the price of the house, have doubled for many people. And so those rates have kept a large number of Americans, particularly first-time buyers, out of the market. Yeah. This has fueled worldwide uncertainty, and right now, neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris can basically offer a path forward. And I think that is one of the problems. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has suggested that this would in fact occur, and it has now occurred. Whether or not it's occurred simply because he suggested it, I'm not going to venture a comment on, but I will say that most people trust Donald Trump's judgment on the economy a little bit more than they trust the Biden administration. So what's the remedy? Many people are pushing for a Federal Reserve rate cut. That may be exactly the wrong advice, because if you go back for the last 30 years in U.S. economic history, a Federal Reserve cut in the face of such bad economic news has generally preceded what? The R word, a recession. And that means that a rate cut could actually worsen the forecast.
I think that is a big concern, because I think there are a lot of people, even like me, who are looking at, traditionally, and if I look at my path, I would have probably moved at this point, like from my house. I would have left my house. But there's nowhere for me to move. I look at it, it's crazy, because you go, okay, well, would I like to quadruple that's not even joking. To me, to move to just the same house, essentially, at this point, it would be, my mortgage payment would be 4 times what it is right now. So my wife and I have these discussions of like, what happens if you are in that situation where thankfully we love our house, but we've looked at you just look after 7-8 years, like, sure, we'll see what else is out there. And you realize it's impossible. And it's impossible for a lot of people right now. And when you say that, rate cuts, those things may not actually help, I think it does send up even more red flags to people going, okay, we have to steady this.
Well, and that, to your point, is that for years now, the Biden administration, along with Kamala Harris, have been gaslighting the American public, because what we're seeing now is symptoms of what's been going on. You're seeing it hit the top. You're seeing it hit these large companies. You're seeing the world react.
You're being burdened by what has been.
Right. But there's a lot of people who have been feeling this strain. When you talk about being able to move houses, even laterally, because of the rates, it's impossible for many people. If you get a job in a new city, you have to consider the ramifications of, you may get, a nice pay raise because you got a new job, but it may actually be making less money because your housing costs are going to go up so much. And so what now we think the American public has been feeling for a while that the Biden administration has been straight up lying to your face about is coming to fruition at the worst period for the Harris campaign. But I think we should play this bite. This is from January of this year. This is Vice President Kamala Harris in an interview with Katie Couric talking about the economy. And let's go ahead and play it and get Professor Hutchison's reaction to this, bite 10.
We have historic accomplishments in terms of the economy, what we've done to move forward. It's science, technology, and investment in the American workforce, growing the American workforce, rising wages, bringing down prices. Historic work has happened, no question. It is incumbent on us to let people know who brung it to them, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, that is coming from, again, Vice President Harris from this past January with Katie Couric. Just what is essentially just a lie. Just lying to your face, telling you everything is fine like the Wizard of Oz.
Absolutely. And so Kamala Harris touts the Biden administration's historic accomplishments. In reality, of course, it's historically bad for many Americans, and that is certainly true for working class Americans. So if you look at, for instance, the metric of inflation, inflation has gone up in part because the Biden-Harris administration has proposed and enacted at least portions of the Green New Deal. So what has that done? It has reduced U.S. independence with respect to energy, thus driving up energy costs. She doesn't seem to understand that. With respect to the Biden-Harris administration push toward electric vehicles, that has in many respects backfired. The average electric vehicle, however attractive they may be, is something north of $65,000. That is an impossible vehicle for most average American people. So if you are an investment banker and you're earning north of $2 million, of course an electric vehicle is fine. Yeah. But for most Americans, this is a troublesome idea. But Kamala Harris doesn't seem to understand that. She doesn't seem to understand the needs of the American people. So one of the things that I would recommend that she do is go into a grocery store and look at grocery store items now versus 2, 3, 4 years ago. I've talked to individuals who are now paying up to $70 for a dinner for four at Five Guys, a fast food restaurant.
Very expensive.
And so increasingly the costs are astronomical for the American people.
No, it's true. I mean, I have a family of 5. Let's say sometimes we're feeding another person if they're with us or a friend. Or I rarely walk out of a kid-friendly family restaurant for under $100. Like, we each have to go now going, all right, this is going to be at least $100 with tip, maybe more. And that is unfathomable for a lot of people. And again, you go to your local Mexican restaurant, you go to places that historically are where you're going to go and you're going to have a good meal for a good price, and you look at it and go, it's not their fault. And you look at it and go, wow, this was, the cost of half a PlayStation. This is a bizarre time we're living in.
Well, and you couple all that with the fact that a senior economic advisor this morning for the Biden administration left the administration to go where? To go work on the Harris campaign. Maybe a bad time to leave the real job of advising the sitting U.S. president on the economy to go work on the campaign to try to reelect the vice president. You have that coupled with a looming conflict in the Middle East with Iran and many other things. It seems like the honeymoon period for Kamala Harris may be over. We'll see how it plays out.